Okay, we are live. So
All right.
we're just gonna wait a couple, I would say a minute or two to just get people
Traffic.
jumping in. Yep, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Awesome. Nice. We'll get started in probably about a minute or so, and then we'll give it about a minute or so, and then we'll get started. We have a couple of people jumping on.
Perfect.
Awesome. We will get started in a couple of seconds here. Water. I definitely should have got some water.
Right. Hey, it comes in handy, right?
All right, let's just go ahead and get started. We have a couple of people on already. Thank you guys so much for joining us. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yaritza. I am the digital marketing specialist here at Foothill Credit Union. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us for our live event where we sit down with some of our subject matter experts and we get all of your questions answered. So for today's event, we have our consumer lending manager, Michael Arispe, and where he will be going over and giving you information on how to choose the right credit card for you. Michael, do you want to go ahead and give a little intro about yourself?
Yes, thank you so much. Again, my name is Michael Arispe. As Yadi said, our consumer lending manager. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. And we just feel this is the perfect time to kind of revisit some tips about credit cards, right? There's so many cards out there. You're getting ads all over the place. And it's like, well, what do I do, right? What am I really looking for in this booklet that comes to me, right? So we wanted to give you some key points to really address those key things that will interest you directly. Perfect.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. So really quick before Michael goes on and gives us that awesome information, if you guys have any questions throughout the event today, please leave them in the comments and Michael will answer those throughout the event today. But with that being said, let's just go ahead and get started. Michael, go ahead and take it.
Perfect. Let's get into it. So the first thing when you hear about credit cards, right, as I stated, there's so many out there, like, how do I choose mine, right? So these tips are going to speak specifically to that. The one thing they always put out there is the annual percentage rate, right? It's like, that's what I want to know. What rate am I paying on this card, right? And that's very important to some people. It is an important thing, but for those that may actually pay their card off every month, it may not be as important, right? But for the average consumer, you do want to know that rate because you want to know, okay, if I spend $100, how much is it going to cost me in the end? So it's very, very important to really pay attention to that interest rate. But we always say the one thing that is going to get you to an interest rate is your credit, right? So I talk about this no matter what product you're looking to get, whether it's a credit card, auto loan, you always want to understand your situation, your credit score, right? So you kind of have a one up, okay, this is my credit. Now, these are all the cards. Now, which one will I really get, right? Because you see these promotion rates and all these crazy things, and you're like, I can get that, but really you don't know your credit, right? So really taking a step back, understanding your credit, and then saying what card is good for me, right? When we everybody talks about these balance transfers, right? So balance transfer rates. So it's like, oh yeah, if I bring my interest rate over, that could be very important to you, right? You have debt at another organization, you want to bring it over. But what these balance transfers, like, what is it going to cost me, right? It sounds great. It's like, I can move this over. Great, perfect. Moved it over, lower rate. Everything sounds good. but you really have to read that fine print, because a lot of organizations call what it is a balance transfer fee. So when you bring that over, they may charge you up to 3 to 4% in bringing that over, which has to be paid up front. So we always say, if this is something that interests you, if you're looking at this credit card and what stands out to you is that balance transfer, read into it, right? Is this going to cost me up front? And over the long term, does it really save me money, right? So when we talk about balance transfer, make sure if that was one of the key points that really pulls you in, to really make sure what upfront is there, that fee, right? So that's very important. Another thing that kind of piggybacks into that is introductory rates, right? We see that it says 0% all over the place, right? They put it on everything you see, 0%, 0%, 1%, but in reality, again, the fine print is what happens. Tell the full story. What happens after that 0% intro rate, right? Do I have that 0% through the life of the card? Probably not, right? So you really have to, one of the key points is dig into that paper and say, hey, let me look at that intro rate. Yes, it's awesome. 0% for 6 months can be very powerful for somebody. But in reality, are you going to pay that off in those 6 months, right? You've had that debt for the last 2 years. Are you going to pay it off in 6 months? Maybe, maybe not, right? The 0% may help. But if not, is it going to jump to the average rate of 22 to 25%? So then it's counterproductive, because maybe you had a card at 10%. Great, the 0% worked out. Then you brought it over. Now I'm at 22% after the 6 months. So it's super, super important. We always say, check the fine print. What is the rate after the introduction period? Because is this a card I'm going to keep in my wallet or my purse through how long, right? So after that, am I going to keep swiping it? So another thing, introduction rates are very important. I always talk to members. Another thing that we talk about is cash back and rewards, right? That's another huge thing that people are putting, cash back, rewards. What you really have to pay attention to is, with these reward programs, is the interest rate that much higher, right? Because typically on a rewards program, you're going to have a higher interest rate because they're giving you some rewards on the back end. So I had a member I talked to the other day that was like, I have a credit card that I get air mileage and it gives me X. But then just in conversation, I'm like, how many trips have you taken? None in the last 3 years. So it's like, is that really the card for you, right? That you get airline mileage? Maybe you want to take a step back and look at something that you actually use on a day-to-day basis, right? Gas, and promos of that magnitude, right? So it's just very important to really look at, is cash back going to work for you? Is rewards going to work for you? Or is it better to take the lower interest rate? Because when you compare apples to apples, yeah, this card doesn't have rewards, but the interest rate is 8%. This one does, but it's 13%, right? And I plan to pay it off every month, so I'm just stacking those rewards. So again, rewards, cash back, it's an awesome program. It's tailor-made for people, I think, on individual situations. But I just always say, don't let that be the full directive of why you're choosing a card, unless, like you said, you really love airline miles and you fly all the time and you're saving the big picture on money, right? Our gas is huge right now with cash back up to 5% on gas. So, right, that's a key point right now. So yes, I fill my car up twice a week. I'm a commuter, so this card is going to be the one for me, right? So that's another thing. Another fine print that we talk about, and I like how it just kind of continues to roll into it, but is the annual fee, right? Do you have an annual fee, right? That's a lot of thing that is way, way on the bottom of that packet you get in the mail. Is there an annual fee? Typically, an annual fee can be anywhere from $100 to $250 a year. So I know Amex charges because they say that they have a lot. It's a powerful card, so they want you to pay $250 a year to have it in your wallet or purse. So does that make sense for people that typically maybe pay their card off or don't? It's like, hey, this is going to cost me just to literally have this card, whether you have a balance or no balance. This is literally going to cost me $250 a year. Is this a good investment for me? Because at the end of the day, it's cash. It's something you're paying just to have this in your wallet or purse. So it's very important to look at those annual fees, as well as another big thing is minimum payments, right? Some institutions, charge up to, 5% is your minimum payment. Is it, going to be our 3%, right? I know here at Foothill, we have a very competitive card. We have our 3% minimum payment, but a lot of organizations have a 5% minimum payment. So is that going to be a payment that you end up, charging up to $5,000? Is that going to be a minimum payment that you could afford? $150 a month, or, so it's very important to really look into the nitty gritty of the card. We always like to say that the perfect thing about credit card offers is you have the opportunity to do your research, right? So you have all these offers, they're laying out everything out for you, and literally take your time, do your research. Yes, this is, people say, oh, it's a credit card. It's just, you just grab it and I'm approved, I'm going to go with it. Do your research. This is going to be with you for a while, right? You've had an inquiry on your credit, right? So it's having an impact on your credit. It's going to be in your wallet or your purse throughout the life of keeping that card open. So it almost says, let's do our research. Let's read into the nitty gritty of the card, right? And choose. So, before you take that application, you really want to take a choice, read through it and say, okay, this is good on this card. I have no minimum payment, no annual fee on this card, but I do, or maybe I do have an annual fee, but I have the rewards are more powerful on that for me, right? I'm willing to pay the $100 minimum because I'm getting ×5 rewards, right? So it makes sense for me at the end of the day. Another tip would be, once you have that card, right, just remember, again, you're entering into a contract with that card, and you really want to make sure that you're abiding to that minimum payments and you're abiding to those cashback rewards, because that, again, could have a huge impact on your credit moving forward. For a lot of these members that maybe this is their first card, right, some of these tips are even more impactful for you. But you got to remember, this is your first card. You really want to get started off right. You want to so maybe your next card will have more rewards or more introduction rate, because now you've built that confidence with the consumer reports and says, hey, the JoSo member was paying their cards on time. They're using it as need be and how we want them to use it. So, hey, the next offer is going to be ×10 better, right? So it's just some tips to really look at when choosing these cards. And I know it can get overwhelming. That's what our members say. It's overwhelming. I have all these cards. What do I do with them? What I always like to say is the great thing about being a Foothill member is you have a concierge that you can reach out to and do this research with you, right? You can say, hey, loan processor, this is what I'm looking for from a card, right? We offer a rewards card that gives you back some rewards. And we also offer a card that doesn't give you rewards, but it has a lower rate. So it's like, so we'll walk you through these programs, right? We'll let you know that we don't have any annual fees, right? We don't have any balance transfer fees. If you do want to bring that over, you don't have to pay that 3%. We bring that over, we move it over for you, we talk you through the process. So it's very powerful to have an organization behind you like that, that's going to walk you through that process. So, we love for you to use us in that aspect. But from a bit bigger picture, we just want you to make the right decisions as a member, whether you go with our card or not, just to kind of take these little tips with you. So you're immediately looking at that annual percentage rate, right? Like, okay, what am I going to pay on a dollar-to-dollar basis? Okay, I do want to do a balance transfer. So it's very important to actually walk through that process. I know sometimes you're at the counter, right? And they're like, oh, you're going to get 20% discount at Target if you sign up for this card. You're like, sweet. And they've narrowed it down to be like, oh, it's a $40 savings on this literally transaction. Just do it. Okay. But then there's an annual fee, right? And then they charge you 30% on this purchase. And then you're like, wait, was it a good choice? In the moment, it was great. But sometimes it's better to take that pamphlet and say, let me read it through, right? Or use the card you already have in your pocket because it's offering you more benefits. So I know it's a lot to kind of think over, but it is very impactful to really go through these steps.
Awesome. So we currently don't have any questions. So if you guys do have any questions, please just go ahead and leave them in the comment. But I do kind of want to ask you, Michael, we have a lot of people or a lot of kids going to school, going into college, and this might be like their first credit card per se. So what do you what's your advice or suggestions when it comes to looking for that credit builder, right?
Right. So I think one of the great products that we offer, and it's a credit builder, right? We actually have a card that's geared towards that. That's right about 17.9%, right? And you go, oh, it's 17.9%. But literally the average credit card out there, even for A+ credit, if you pull it up, it's 23%, right? After all your intros, after all your So if you're walking into as a first-time credit card holder, we actually built out a program for you that will say, here, we're going to give you this. And then you have the option to transfer it over to a regular card once you've gained that buying power and you've used it the way that you should. So it's always good to really, if I always say these steps are so much more important when it's day one, as you talk to, it's your first card, because there's so many stories we talk about, on your college campus, I remember when you walk in and there's all these banks set up and they're willing to hand you a credit card. Take this credit card, take that credit card, just sign here, right? You buy your books on it, but then you're realizing you're paying 30%, right? And as a college student, it's very much so. $30 on 100 is a lot, right? So you're like, man, that's a lot. So it's good to do your research. And like I said, come talk to us. We have a product built specifically for that. And we'll go through these steps. But I would say take definitely these tips back on your first card more than any other card, because that's going to be very much so to be with you for that first jump off.
No, yeah, that's good. I think it's also like, our online banking and technology nowadays makes it super easy for them to keep track of their spending and their minimum payment and all that fun stuff. So
Right. And we have so much technology geared up. Even from when I had my first card, you were waiting for that statement, right? You're like, oh, where's that statement? What did I spend? What falls in this repayment period? What doesn't? And as you spoke to beautifully, is that you can literally at any time, it's at the click of your finger. Do I want to transfer? Do I not want to? Do I want to make that payment before the interest posts? So technology has brought us a long way. And it also should save you from a lot of those late fees and, paying interest as long as you're using it as you should. So perfect.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, what you kind of already touched the subject on, was like retail credit cards and those promos, of how like dangerous they can really be, because it could just basically suck you into a really high interest card, right?
Oh, that's what we talk about. It's 0%, for 6 months. And I can't tell you, and I kind of touched on it briefly, but there's so many people that go, I brought it over and the 6-month period ended and now I'm at 25%, right? And in reality, you have to take a step back and say, I've held this debt for 2 years. Can I really pay it off in the intro rate of 6 months? Do the math. And okay, I got to send $1,000 a month. Do you have the capability right now to send $1,000 a month to pay it? You may, and that's what these programs are built off. But in reality, they're built off saying, okay, the average 89% of people don't. So we're going to make it up on the 25% that we're charging you. So like you said, it can be a hamster wheel that you're running and never being able to get out of once that 30% kicks in. So very dangerous. Again, great for some people, but for the average, it's not so great, right?
Yeah, no, big time. But okay, that seems no comments. So we will just go ahead and end our event there. Thank you so much, Michael. That was really great information. And I hope everyone that tuned in definitely left with something. So
Awesome.
Thank you so much. So if you guys, that's not my mouse, have any more questions or want to talk more about opening a credit card, which credit card works for you, the number to our lending team, I'll just say lending team, is right there on the screen. You would call that number, and then I believe it's option 1.
Yes.
So if you guys need just to call and ask for advice, or go ahead and apply for one as well, you can call that number or visit our website for more information. But other than that, we are going to go ahead and end the event there. Thank you all for joining us. And until next time, bye.
Thank you. Have fun.